My name is Amanda Ring, and this is Flight of the Feminine. Here on Flight of the Feminine, I'm inviting you to explore and reclaim all things feminine, the divine and the dark. To awaken your womb and heart consciousness, I'm inviting you to open to the realms of energy and spirit, to evoke empowerment and create sovereignty. As a sacred soul, each one of you are on this journey through life. Welcome back to Flight of the Feminine. Last episode 2, Thoughts Become Things, I shared ideas, information, and a couple of practices to support your inner awareness to grow around the energy of language and to empower your choices when it comes to your thoughts and words. We explored the subconscious mind, the energy of your words and thoughts, and how these can influence and shape your reality. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to this yet, check it out. But in today's show, your body is talking. Are you listening? I'm going to take you deeper into your body and how your feminine wisdom is continuously communicating with you. And actually, you might want to have a paper and pen handy if you're not driving or doing something. Have it handy for a little later in the episode. I'm going to take you through another practice, and there's a few things you might want to write down. Throughout this episode, I'm going to refer to the body, your body, my body. That term body is going to be defined differently. I want you to imagine it as a much bigger entity. I'm going to define it to mean 3 specific things woven into one: your physical body, your energy body, and your higher self or inner knowing. These 3 aspects of your being are all operating together in a synergistic way all of the time. As a child, you, like me, were probably never taught anything about energy, inner knowing, soul journeys, or any of that sort of thing. And certainly this isn't taught in our standard westernized education systems and or common knowledge in the average family. Personally and professionally, I feel it is absolutely needed, but it's not there yet. Part of my vision is to help educate and share and support the understanding of these things. And I know many, many times in my own life, my body, those 3 things, physical body, energy, and inner knowing, was trying to get my attention. There were times I listened well. And many, many times I didn't listen. I didn't honor what it was saying to me, showing me, guiding me towards, or guiding me away from. Sometimes that happened for mere moments, but sometimes for years. You know that niggling feeling in your body, in your being, that you're going against the grain or swimming upstream or something just isn't right. You feel it. And it has taken intentional learning, practice, and leaning inward with my feminine energies to acknowledge and to nurture trust of this knowing in my body. This not listening, in part, has been a big product of good girl syndrome in our society, which so many women experience. This good girl syndrome has numbed so many women to their true feelings, to what feels safe, what healthy boundaries are, and it has created a veil between their feminine wisdom and their conscious awareness of what's going on the inside. And this has led to this active ignoring, repressing of this wisdom and how the body is talking to us. The feminine wisdom or body talk often shows up in a form of knowing that is sensed or felt. I like to associate it with a different kind of word that I substitute instead of KNOW. We use the word gnosis, GNOSIS. And for those of you who might be familiar with mystical and esoteric practices, the Gnostics were a group of spiritually evolved people. And gnosis, in a basic translation, means a spiritual mystical truth. So really, our feminine wisdom, our body talk, is a form of knowing or a form of gnosis. It is felt, it is sensed, and it's like your own personal spiritual truth, your own personal higher knowing that's coming through. If you remember from previous episodes, that the feminine principle is based in the body and also in the etheric state. It is connected to your feelings, your emotions, your sensations, somatic embodiment. So very much connected to the body. And really this body knowing and the feminine wisdom is a combination of your intuition and your instinctual energies. It has a quality of both this intangible knowing, the mystery of the feminine, and the 3D, more primal, earth-based, body-based experience. And we're going to get into this in a very real way in just a few minutes. So what happens with this body knowing and this gnosis, this feminine wisdom, is that it gets translated through your physical body via the nervous system and your tissues, and also through your energy or subtle vibrational body. A lot of people don't know that your energy body or the subtle body is intricately linked to your nervous system and your organs and your glandular system as well. Again, these are things we're not typically taught. And when I began to learn about all of these things, when I was following my spiritual path and applying it personally and then studying it and learning through different trainings and courses so that I could share it, it was absolutely fascinating and so useful. The next episode, called Light Being, is where I'm going to be sharing more basics about the energy system and your light body. So be sure to check that out. When your body is talking to you, remember your physical body, your energy, and your inner knowing, it is usually letting you know when things are either in alignment or out of alignment. Let's just talk about alignment for a moment. It's a very popular catchphrase now, and it's a very useful one. It's a very felt experience. Alignment is the process of adjusting yourself to a course of action that feels good or feels better or is connecting to more of your authentic desires or your genuine truths. It also connects you to what feels safe for you personally. So when you're moving into alignment with a decision, with even the words you're thinking, when it's in alignment, there's a sense of it feeling better or feeling good, feeling safe and secure, and it feels genuine. It feels authentic. And what's really fascinating is that your body wisdom will share guidance with you before you can even form a reflective question. It happens so quickly. It's so fast. It's like lightning. You feel it before you start to think about what you're feeling. As an example, just imagine that you're walking into a home or a building and you immediately feel uncomfortable. There's no apparent reason why. No logical reason as to why, but you feel uncomfortable. This is your body talking to you. This is your energy field and nervous system interacting with the energy of that space and what your nervous system is picking up. It's picking it all up immediately, and it's letting you know what is resonant or dissonant in the energies of that space. What is feeling in alignment or not in alignment. Equally, you could walk into a home or a building and feel immediately at ease, relaxed, and open. This could be in relation to a space that you enter, or standing next to someone, or even a space in nature. This body talk, this reading of the energy around is also obviously connected with what's going on within. So this can happen even when you're alone and your thoughts take a rapid turn for the proverbial rabbit hole, when you get in those negative loops and spiraling down. Your body will talk to you then too. In these moments of unease or of comfort, when your body is talking, are you actually listening? Are you paying attention? This is a different kind of listening, obviously not the listening with our ears. This is an inner listening, paying attention to what's actually happening. And I'm sure there's times, if you can relate to this, when you have walked into a space or you stood next to someone or you're at a gathering, an event, or having an experience where you just all of a sudden decided to move to another part of the room, or you stood on the other side of the person you were talking to, and it wasn't because you couldn't hear them. You shifted. You moved. You might have even left altogether. And there's likely other times when you have felt that feeling, that niggling feeling that something doesn't feel right. Not necessarily dangerous, not necessarily awful in any way, but just feels odd or feels like you're not meant to be in that spot in that moment. There are many times when people have ignored that, and you have likely done this too. When you have overridden that niggling feeling, endured it, and ignored it as best you can. So my invitation for you in this episode is, once again, to get curious, to go inward with me, and start to expand your awareness and consciousness around these things and how, in particular, your body is talking to you. Where you feel and what those sensations are in your body. And for some of you, there will be more of a feeling that shifts or changes around you as opposed to inside of you, like the room all of a sudden feeling really small or close, or that you're actually outside of your body, looking down at it, having this sense of not being present. As part of this paying attention to feelings and sensations, I'm inviting you to start paying attention to the patterns related to these. For example, do you have these sensations or feelings or this knowing every time you visit a certain place or are in close proximity to a certain person? I can remember as a child, I lived in a very small community, and my mother used to visit a lot of the elderly people, especially those that lived alone, which I thought was just so lovely. And there were certain houses that we went into and or certain people that maybe were there also visiting at the time that I had an immediate body response to. Some that did not feel good at all, and I did not want to be there. But as children, we don't feel we necessarily have a voice in some of those situations. So I would just endure it until it was time to go. And I would also, here's the good girl syndrome, want to actually do this because I felt like it was a nice thing to do. And I wanted to be there for this person, and I wanted to be there for my mom. I wanted to support her. I wanted her to be happy with me. even though my body was like going off in fireworks inside and I was not comfortable at all. So that's just a personal example. When we start to pay attention to these feelings, sensations, then we'll start to notice there are patterns. Patterns with places, with people, with thoughts, with experiences. These are clues from your energy body, your nervous system, and the feminine wisdom as well. Often that higher soul self or feminine wisdom is guiding you through more intuition. Our instincts connect to more of our primal nature and are there to protect us. Our intuition can be linked to that, but our intuition can really be guiding us into more of what our soul is yearning to experience, what we came here to do and be, what brings us joy, what brings us into higher states of experience of purpose and connection and pleasure. There's a subtle difference there. And as you pay attention, you'll get to see how they sometimes weave together and sometimes are very separate. Humans are absolutely creatures of habit. Your patterns will reveal a lot about you. Your patterns are portals to understanding and liberation. Portals so that you can change the unhelpful patterns that you are living and some of which you are living unconsciously. Truly, you cannot change what you are unaware of, and you cannot easily change the things about yourself or your patterns that you judge or reject. This is very important. Because oftentimes we might notice something about ourselves or a habit we have or a pattern we're stuck in, and we are very critical and judgmental of ourselves for it, and that only makes it harder to change. So in talking about these patterns that we have, many of them you have developed in your early life, and also you could have some patterning that you are unaware of that's connected to past life traumas and past life contracts. Many of these patterns have been a means to survive difficult, confusing, and even fearful or dangerous situations. At this point in your journey, there may be some of those patterns that are really no longer needed, but your physical system and energy systems are stuck in a survival loop. I can recommend a really great resource for all you readers out there. It's called The Body Keeps Score. If you're not familiar with that book, I highly recommend jumping into that. It will really open your eyes to how much your body is part of your everyday experience in profound ways that we just haven't really been socialized to understand. It's changing. It's absolutely changing now, but there's so much more for us to learn. So if you really want to open to greater understanding of yourself, to open to profound healing potential, and become a sovereign leader of your own life, you need 4 things when you are listening to what your body is saying: curiosity, compassion, courage, and consistency. So the first thing I'm going to invite you to do right now is be compassionate. Thank your body, thank your energy field and your soul self for doing its very best to keep you safe, to provide you with guidance and direct you towards life, towards the capacity to thrive, not just survive. It is also important to remember that you've been taught and socialized to go to your mind first, not your body. So be compassionate about that. Many of us, myself included, haven't been taught to check in there and to let that lead us more than the mind, the heart, and the body versus what the mind says we should do, quote unquote. It's now time to feel first. This is more of the feminine wisdom way. We absolutely need the mind. We absolutely need logic. However, we're missing some vital information that has not only kept you and me stuck, but it has kept hundreds of thousands of millions of people in all societies stuck in inauthentic expression of who they are, and it affects intimacy and connections with other people. It affects everything. It's also really important to remember that every little electromagnetic cell is listening to your words, to your thoughts, to the tone of your voice, and the emotional vibrations that you set in motion. So as you start to become more aware of your body talk and more aware of the energy of your language and all of these things, try to be as compassionate as you can as you acknowledge what you start to discover, and course correct as many times as you need to. And you will, daily. And that's part of the new patterning that can happen. And we know neuroscience proves that we have neural plasticity. We can change. And my work as an occupational therapist for years, I've worked on neuro teams, I've worked on stroke teams, I've worked on brain injury teams. I have seen it in action, and I have supported people through rehab where their brain synapses took time, but they regrew and they regained capacities people never thought they could. Well, this also happens with our energy. And this also happens with parts of our nervous system that are linked to our energy body. And there is so much potential. We just have to learn to tap into it and get to know it. So compassion, number one. Number two, really get curious about how your body's talking to you. Start listening. And you know what I mean by that. Not with your ears, but pausing frequently to go into what your body is actually feeling in any given moment. The mindfulness-based community and different yogic practices and other Eastern practices like Tai Chi and things like that are really encourage this being present, pausing, this the idea of being instead of doing. So if you're already in that realm of trying to practice being more present, then this is just another little extra piece you can start to be more intentional about. And if this is all new to you, well, that's also great. And it's just pausing while you're sitting in the car outside the grocery store and just go in. What is my body feeling right now? And not just maybe the pain that or discomfort in the body you might actually be experiencing. That's information too. But what subtle other sensations are you noticing? What's your frame of mind? And when you start to change your thoughts, how does your sensation start to change? So be curious, start going inward, start tuning inward, and be consistent. That consistency is really, really, really helpful. If you just do this once every month, you're not going to see your patterns for quite a long time or have that breadth of information that's just waiting there for you to expand into. A little bit each day does wonders. As part of this curiosity and listening and being consistent, it's going to be important for you to learn your body yeses and nos, and exploring this idea of alignment with these yeses and nos. I'm going to end the episode with a practice that helps you start to connect to that very thing. What is your body yes and what is your body no? So I'm going to offer this somatic practice for you to start exploring. So compassion, curiosity, consistency, and courage. Be courageous. And what I mean by that more specifically is as you start to tune in to the body and how it's talking to you, and remember that's the physical, the energetic, and your higher inner wisdom. Be courageous about how those yeses and nos are coming through and how you honor them. And at first, just paying attention is wonderful. We already know that's starting to shape the nervous system differently. So the more you can notice, the better. Then take it a step further and start to honor what that means, because this is essential in healing work. This is essential for breaking really unhelpful patterns. It's essential for living more authentically. Why? Because when you start noticing what's in alignment, what's not, what your body is saying it likes and doesn't like, you are starting to build trust in yourself. And for many, we are rebuilding that trust from the inside out. It creates internal safety for your inner child, your inner teenager, which is another topic that I'm going to go into in another episode. We will be talking very specifically about the inner child and this whole concept. Paying attention to these things helps you re-embody after years of ignoring, repressing, and living outside of yourself. Paying attention and being courageous in honoring those yeses and nos helps boost the potential to change those patterns, right? Journaling about this can help, and practicing with simple, more neutral situations is really, really useful. And that's what I often recommend my clients start out with. So you might not pick a really big decision or relationship or about a job trajectory or something like that to start practicing with. You can absolutely, without having the pressure of having to make a decision, but just leaning into the feelings and what the body is talking. But you can start with things like what you're going to have for dinner, whether you want to go to the gym or not, what you want to wear today, what order you're going to do your day in, that sort of thing. Things that don't have as big a consequence once you've made a choice or an action. Okay. We are ready now to go through this body-based practice for you to learn a little bit more about your body, yeses and nos. If you have your paper and pen handy, get that at the ready. I do not recommend you doing this practice while you're driving or while you're engaged in an activity that you really need your focus and attention on. You really need that capacity to be present and be more quiet and relaxed. So if you can, put off your phone, close the door, communicate to others around you that, you're taking 15 minutes or 10 minutes, and it's not going to take that long here that I'm going to take you through, but you might want to sit with it longer, that you're going to take 10 minutes and not to interrupt you unless it's an emergency, like start communicating that sort of thing. Some of what you're going to experience, remember, is your instinctual energy, which is connected to the limbic system and your primitive brain function and trauma patterning. And some of what you're going to experience is more intuition. It's more that intuitive, higher self-guidance, the inner feminine wisdom. And there's a lot more nuances to this practice. I just want to be radically honest and clear that what I'm going to take you through is more of a basic starting point. When I work one-on-one with people with this, it's very individualized. There's a lot more, like I said, nuance to it. So this is just a basic starting point for you. When we start to return to the body and the intelligence of our energy field, we are entering the realm of the divine feminine. Because this is a deeper communication that's coming from the wisdom of more of your wholeness, your inner wisdom. And for women, I often use the term, the wisdom of your womb or your inner wise woman. This is also true for those who don't identify as a woman because it's connected to your energy system. And so gender identity isn't necessarily a determinant of being able to use this practice, of course, because these experiences are very connected to both your root and your sacral chakras, which is part of your energy field. These are energy centers that help process information, and everyone has these. And in the next episode, Light Being, I'm going to talk more about the energy body itself, your energy field, the chakras, and things like that. So let's talk about what a body yes could potentially feel like. And we're going to talk about a body yes, a body no, and then I'm going to take you through a couple examples or invite you to think of a couple examples. When your body's talking to you and saying something feels aligned, it's usually a yes. Right? A yes feels aligned, it feels good, it feels safe or safer. What this often feels like in your body, or you could sense, is a feeling of expansiveness or lightness, an actual lightness around you. So things seem visually brighter. There's a spaciousness in the body or outside of the body. You might actually feel taller. Your posture might automatically shift upwards. Tension and pain or discomfort you had been feeling has released or actually is lessened. You might feel an excitement or giddiness. You actually might start smiling. You could have a tingling sensation inside or on the surface of the body that actually feels really lovely. Your chest could feel expanded. There could be a sense of relief or a wave of calm that comes over you or through you. And in some cases, you might actually feel a sense of arousal or aliveness in both your body, but also mentally and emotionally. To the contrary, your body knows when something doesn't feel aligned, when it feels off or not safe enough. You could have a sensation or a feeling of things closing in on you, a downward pressure or a weightedness all of a sudden, a feeling of shrinking or being small. Visually, things could get dimmer, darker. Constriction or tension in the body or around the body. You might notice your posture all of a sudden starts to stoop and your belly sinks in and your chest caves in. Tension or pain or discomfort either appears or it actually gets worse. Anxiety, feelings of dread, a wave of nausea or stomach pain or a clenching, remember that sort of constriction. There can be a tingling sensation inside or on the surface of the body that actually feels unsettling and not nice at all. Chest could feel tight. There could be pain. For some, they can't feel their body at all anymore. There could be a spaciness, a dizziness, a sense of feeling all up in your head or outside of your body. You could also feel scared or frightened, even though you know you're completely safe in that moment. But there's a sense of dis-ease and unsettledness. All of these that I've just listed off are examples that have been shared through my clients, students, and group participants over the years, and include my own experiences. This type of body yes and no practice we're going to go through, and all of the information I've shared here today is part of what I offer in my one-to-one work. It's part of the online course, Wise Women Awakening, and we really go into this in detail as well in my Divine Dowsing course, because this is actually a form of body divination. It's deviceless dowsing where actually your body is the tool. So it's an essential part of all of the work that I do. Individually and collectively as women, we are learning how to re-embody, reclaim a sense of safety, trust, and authenticity from the inside out. So let's jump into an example that can help you with this. You're going to be using your imagination and your medicine eye, your third eye chakra, the Ajna chakra. That's very connected to our imagination, our capacity to visualize, among other things. I'd like you to take a breath in through the nose, out through the mouth, and just relax everything as you do that. Soften everything, release, and pay attention now to whatever you're sitting on or sitting against. So you just want to feel what's making contact with your body. And I'm going to invite you now to imagine a time in the recent past when you went against your instincts or your intuition. That might have been how you called it. So a time in the recent past when you went against your instincts. Maybe you decided to go out to something when you really wanted to stay home. Or you chose to eat something that you know bothers your stomach. Or you committed to something that you're truly either not interested in or actually don't have the time for. So get an example. Doesn't have to be anything too complex or intense. And I want you to close your eyes and go back to the moment of that conversation or that moment when you're making the decision. The moment you said yes. I want you to really go back and as if you're in a movie and go back to that moment. Right now, how does your body feel? Where do you feel whatever sensations you're experiencing? Where are they? What part of your body? And how would you describe them? Prickly? Is it painful? Is there a heat? Is there an openness? You get the idea from the list that I shared before. Just pay attention to those. You don't have to write them down just yet. See what comes. And it's okay if you don't sense anything right away. You can listen to this again, pause it, and take a few minutes to do this a little bit longer. I'm just taking you through it quickly for the sake of time, but you may need more time, especially if you're used to being in your head and not in your body. Whatever you were experiencing in the felt sense in your body or around your body is your actual no signal. So you could jot these down now if you can. You can just pause and do that. Write down and describe exactly where you felt what you felt and the descriptive words that you would use. Because remember, as I explained in episode 2, the brain, the nervous system, the energy body, they don't know the difference between the past, the present, and the future. So you just imagining this can evoke the same experience as you had when you were in the moment and said yes when you actually meant no. Isn't that incredible? We are such fascinating creatures. And because the brain and body doesn't know the difference, it's experiencing it again. So you could feel kind of uck. So let's release it. 3 inhales and exhales out on your own time, out through the mouth, and then maybe even shake it off. Shake your arms, shake your legs. You could stand up for a minute and shake it off, especially if you thought of something that's still upsetting you. Tell yourself it's over. You were just imagining it. You're completely safe. And then sit back down. So we're going to do the same thing for a situation in the recent past where you have said yes. And it was like a hell yes, no hesitation, like a full body yes, like, oh my God, I want to buy this. I want to have this. I want to experience this. I want to talk to that person. Go back, close your eyes, be there. How does your body feel now? Where? How would you describe it? And really challenge yourself to be descriptive, because there will be some patterns to these yeses and nos that have been with you for a very long time that you're just not used to paying attention to, and those are ones that are going to be really important. So if you've got stuff, write it down. If you don't, pause and work on this a little bit longer or come back to it another time. Write it down, put it in your phone. There's a third practice that you can do on your own. I'll mention it again, but let's release this first. So like we did with no, this hell yes, we don't want to always leave that experience because it feels so good. It's in alignment, but let's let that go because that's not actually happening now. Breathe in and out 3 times, exhaling, release. I'm letting this memory go. I'm letting go of this. I've just been pretending. Let it go, let it go. So you could do this a third time on your own. We won't do it in the episode, but you can do it on your own for a time when you said no to something, when you actually wanted to say yes. So I'll leave that one with you. In this episode, I really wanted to help you till the soil of understanding and add a few little twigs to your inner nest so that you can feel more informed and safe to explore these things, even on your own. And as I've said in previous episodes, if you've been enjoying these topics and these themes, go check out my website, go check out my blogs, follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and check out my courses, especially the Wise Women Awakening online course. It's an evergreen course, and it has all of these things woven into it. Great resources for you to awaken, to inspire and support your own healing journey. The next episode, Light Being, I'm going to leap into the energy body with you. So mark your calendars and remember that new episodes drop every second Friday and can be found on all of the listening platforms. Thank you so very much for tuning in, for starting to stoke your courage. If you tried some of these practices with me today, please share with your friends and those beloveds in your life and anybody that you feel Flight of the Feminine might support for their healing, for their growth. It's time, my sisters, to elevate your mind, expand your feminine heart, explore your inner wisdom. Let's soar together. Sending you all big, big love.
This is Story Studio Network.